Alright, hello and welcome back to Ashgabat Cat, so let's play that. Today we're taking a look at Maniac Square. What nonsense could we possibly be in for? Well, it's not every day you get to say you had a crumpled piece of paper as the background image. Oh my gosh, you are not going to believe it, folks at home. At least you wouldn't if you weren't seeing it yourself. This is a clone of Columns. Now, for those of you not in the know, Tetris is essentially the greatest puzzle game. You have various rearrangements of 4 blocks, and then you put them all in a giant grid like this, and then if you make a line on the bottom, or anywhere really, then they disappear. Now, Sega, of course, realized that Tetris was the bomb, and they wanted weigh in on that. So they created their own version of Tetris called Columns, where all you needed was 3 in a row, actually, and also diagonals count. But otherwise, it's structured more or less the same as Tetris. You've got sort of a marathon mode, and it's kind of like play until you, well, pass out, really. And so this is not called Columns, but they are using the exact same column style. So, I mean, if you're making a game and you're just gonna, like, rip somebody off, like, just rip off their clone system, why would you rip off Columns? Why would you not just make a Tetris game? Tetris is by far the superior game. I'm pretty sure even Sega knows that. And they're the ones who made Columns. Notice how there hasn't been a Columns game since Columns 3 for the Genesis. They just kind of, like, called it quits. They're like, okay, we made 2-player versus competitive Columns, and even that couldn't save it. What more can be done? Nothing. We're just gonna let this die. Well, here we are, folks. We're playing an off-brand Columns game. Well, at least the immediate objective seems to be we need to make a certain number of lines in a certain amount of time. Oh my gosh. Just like my one friend who is oddly dedicated to only using 1 rotate button, this game is also oddly dedicated to only using 1 rotate button. Except here, I mean, here there's really no excuse. Like, you could always have just had the other button hanging around. I'm not missing anything. You could only rotate one way. Now with my friend, it was because he was like a little bit, I don't want to say slow, but he was a little hyper-focused, let's say, and he liked to just kind of focus in and just do one thing at a time. Well, actually, I keep talking about this puzzle-playing friend, but there can only be one friend. It's gotta be Kevin, from Versus Blockbreaker fame. But this game, it's like, well, there's no real excuse. Plus, it's, well, I mean, it's a fairly competent rendition of Columns. Although, Columns, the original arcade game, and of course the Genesis port, had a really cool, like, kind of world-traveling, time-traveling, like, world theme. And, like, oh, check it out, guys, I made a combo. So yeah, you can use diagonals. It's not, like, you know, super exciting, but it's at least regular exciting. Oh, I see. So you don't want to get too cute with your combos, kids, otherwise you're gonna run out of time. Oh, so I don't think you actually get any sort of extra time if you make a combo. You just get more stuff. Oh, okay. I thought for a second there the board was cleared, but no. And it doesn't really seem like you get anything for doing your combos. Actually, does it count time as it gets rid of them? I think it does. Yeah, it does. It counts down time on your combos. Oh my god, that's so mean. Why would the game do that? So, like Tetris Attack, arguably my favorite game ever, whenever you're breaking 3 at least, even if it's not going to stop the timer, at least, like, while it's breaking the blocks, it stops the timer. But this game is just like, I will have none of this. Speed is the name of the game, and speed is all there is, but it's my definition of speed. Alright. So, just in case you were wondering to yourself, how could I possibly increase the difficulty in a puzzle game? Well, it's pretty simple. You add in more blocks, because more blocks means fewer of them will line up randomly. And you know what it's all about playing randomly? Jeez, this is almost getting difficult. Now, one of the main problems with columns is that it is just marvelously unintuitive. Now, Tetris speaks to, like, some primal... Oh, you can't, Puyo Puyo 2 style rotate when you're stuck in a tunnel. So that's kind of a drag. Huh. Well, we only made it to stage 5. We got another credit, why not? And note the smooth snake skin. Actually, I think those are pebbles in the background.
Ready?
If you can't have fun playing columns on some random game, then you can't really have fun. But yeah, I mean, the original Sega port had a very kind of distinguished time, traveling through history sort of theme. Whereas this game goes for more of a gaudy, let's put this on one of those portable little emulation systems where we can include a licensed, where we can legally include this clone ripoff. And, well, they have and they did. Metaphorically, of course, I don't know if this actually came out on any one of those emulator boxes. You know, like the little pill emulator machines. I'm not making that up. Like, they actually did market them as pills. I don't entirely know why a selling point would be that your emulation machine looks like a pill, but, you know, it's a weird world out there. Yeah, incredibly generic. However, I will say that it is immensely bright and colorful. And honestly, those aren't bad things to be when you're making an arcade game. Well, maybe that's all the Sega Genesis port needed. Just brighter colors. That's not at all what it needed, but... Nah, it just needed more Puyo Puyo. Well, I mean, the music is not bad. Nothing but the finest public domain music the world has to offer. Actually, it's almost kind of eclectic in its depth. Is this like some sort of Irish Celtic music? That's not something you hear every day. I actually kind of wonder what country that even like made this. I'm beginning to suspect that it may not have been Japanese, but you never know. Actually, I was searching for, well, I don't know, I got into Celtic music a little while back, and I searched, and apparently the Japanese actually do make a fair bit of Celtic music. And it's like, whoa, I was not expecting that fact. And so it's like dozens and dozens of Celtic music, like Celtic tunes, but with Japanese names. And it's like, either there are some very dedicated fans out there who are like translating all of these to Japanese, which is still somewhat impressive, or they themselves are making them. And it's like, geez, OPs. That's crazy. Oh man. Now I will say it's actually a little bit tense getting the right rotation in and putting it all in. Oh, actually, okay, so I can talk about versus columns. So Columns 3, the ill-fated last Genesis Columns game, it had a versus mode, and so you could play Columns against someone else. And I mean, one of the problems with Columns is that it's marvelously unintuitive in gameplay. Like, it's hard to just control the pieces, and it's hard to make combos happen. However, oh, stage 5 again, the killer stage. However, when you're playing against somebody, they also have to deal with the counterintuitiveness of Columns control. And so, and then, okay, let's see, you break like 4 in a row, I think, and then you actually send some garbage. And then you can also do combos, or chains, which are ridiculously difficult. Oh, but get this. This was a standout feature. So it's not Puyo Puyo 2 where as soon as you break it, you send the garbage. No, you would collect the garbage. So you would kind of build up like a big ol' batch of garbage, and then you could just send it to the other person just whenever you wanted to. And of course there's no garbage canceling, so it's like you just kind of build up a big combo. You can only do like 5 lines at a time, I think. Say about 5 lines. But you would just wait until your opponent was just kind of like ready up towards the top of the screen. You're like, bam, gotcha. Of course, there were also items and whatever. I'm not sure if you could disable those or not. And, well, you gotta give special props to a game that prominently features a chicken in the user interface. Like, there's this chicken hanging around. He's like the mascot. Puyo Puyo has Carbuncle, which is a weird star cute monster thing. And Columns decided it was chickens. And I mean, I'll give them credit. That chicken is fairly charming. It almost manages to sell me on Columns. But unfortunately, no amount of chickens in the world will sell me on Columns. That game is just so counterintuitive. I don't know, I feel like Tetris just works because there's like this visual spatial processing part of a human brain that just wants the pieces to line up and make giant lines. But you get them and you play Columns and it's like, it's all based on colors. And I don't think there's that part of our lizard brain that just kind of like reacts instinctively to colors. It's like shapes and like filled in lines. It's like, okay, that'll just activate it. It's like you want to do it. You want to make it happen. But like different colors, it's like, well, our brain is like, okay, that's maybe pretty, I guess, but show me some lines or whatever. And I don't know, I think you're just too just like, it always feels like when I play a puzzle game like this where it's based on colors, my brain it always seems to focus a little bit more on like the skyline that the pieces make rather than the actual like colors or the patterns they're in. And like, yeah, you can train your brain. I mean, we're not like dumb apes anymore, but like even so, it's just, you kind of get the sense that you're trying to put like a square peg in a round hole. It's like, yeah, you got your sanding paper out and you can kind of sand down the corners, but a little part of you kind of wonders, it's like, should I really even be sanding down the corners and the stars are wild? Stars are wild? That's nonsense. Oh my god, I thought stars were like a fifth extra type of gameplay piece to just kind of mess you up, but stars are wild? That changes everything. That's, dare I say it, the work of a maniac? Huh. So this is from Spain. I see. So a country that knew enough about copyright law to not rip off Tetris, but who was enough of a Wild West copyright-wise that they could totally rip off Columns. I don't know why you would, there are better choices out there, but, I mean, hey, why not? Why not? One of the names is GIF. That's almost funny. Whoa, it gave up. Now it's making noise? Like, I don't know if you noticed, but typically these games don't make any noise in the attract mode, but I guess if you let it loop for like 5 times, then the game gets a little impatient. It's like some sort of prima donna just kind of hanging around. It's like, why won't you pay attention for me? This is my grand ball. And then it starts making noise. And of course everybody ignores it because it's Columns, but still, you gotta do what you gotta do. Well, this was this was Columns by Sega. But unfortunately, I feel like we've mined just about all the enjoyment we can get out of this, so on that note, this cat's got a scat.